guys ever seen Skibbity Toilet? I hit the mic. Eminem's new album has been out for over a week now, and honestly, it might be his best work in a long time. The death of Slim Shady marks Eminem's 12th studio album, and in my opinion is easily one of the best storytelling endeavors of his entire career. While we do have great storytelling tracks like Stan and Darkness, this album is an hour-long journey into the power struggle between Eminem and Slim Shady. However, there was probably some stuff you missed while going through and trying to understand what this means for the Slim Shady character. So today I'm going to go track by track and explain to you guys what I think this album means as a whole, as well as what it means for the future of Eminem. And before we start, I wanted to announce that I'm going to be giving away 3 CD copies of this album to 3 lucky subscribers. All you have to do to enter is like, subscribe, and comment a random Minecraft mob. Good luck everybody, and now let's get into this video. So first things first, there have been several promotional videos for the death of Slim Shady, but the one I wanted to focus on was the Tombstone promotional video. In this video, which was released the day before the album came out, we see a tombstone reading, "Beloved antagonist Slim Shady." And on this thunderstorm night, we see Eminem look down at this tombstone, and after just a brief moment, he spits on it and walks away. But then after a few moments, we see a hand bust out through the ground, and the video ends. Now, the reason I want to point out this video specifically is because the album starts with the exact same sound effects you hear in this video. And when you hear the sound effect of the hand busting through the ground, the first verse begins. And I believe this verse represents Slim Shady coming back from the dead, and is basically stating in simple terms, Shady is back. Now in this verse, Shady makes sure to take a moment to address the haters. Now in recent years, the haters have become the fuel to Marshall's fire, and it doesn't matter if it's Eminem, Slim Shady, or Marshall behind the wheel, it's always them versus the haters. And here, Eminem just so happens to explore the mind of a hater. Slim mocks the critics of many different rappers other than himself, including Kendrick, Lil Wayne, Kanye, Joyner Lucas, and J. Cole. He finishes it up by saying that these nerdy pricks would find something wrong with 36 Chambers, which is the legendary album from the Wu-Tang Clan. The track abruptly cuts to the next track, in which we hear Slim Shady talking to M. Now, it sounds as if Slim has tied up Eminem, and once you watch one of the other promo videos for this album, you can see that that's exactly what happened. Now, Shady is telling Eminem off about how M thought he could just get rid of Shady, while Eminem struggles to get free in the background. Shady then tells him that he's either going to take this pill, or Slim is going to shoot him. Now, Slim Shady has always been seen as Eminem's darker side, but Eminem himself has characterized Slim Shady as the side of him which is an addict. So the fact that Shady is trying to get Eminem to eat this pill shows that Slim Shady is attempting to revert M back into the old him. Slim and Eminem do indeed split the pill with one another, which then cuts to the opening verse of track 2. Now, I believe that this verse is being spit by M after taking the pill given to him by Slim. In this opening track, Eminem is likening an addiction to drugs to an addiction to offending people, while making plenty of wild statements throughout the track. Throughout the track, he pokes fun at the mentally handicapped, little people, and Caitlyn Jenner, who quite possibly is the most famous trans person ever. This track, in my opinion, is Eminem kind of reverting to the Slim Shady ways, and is this half M, half Slim combo, which I've dubbed Slim and M. And it shows the current Eminem flow we all know, while mixing it with some of that shock value Slim that we used to know. On top of all of that, the chorus, which is done by White Gold, talks about how Eminem has an addiction he'll never be able to get rid of. Now, while this is a reference to M's literal addiction issues, it's also a reference to his addiction to the Slim Shady persona, which continues to return throughout his career. White Gold also makes sure to say that he misses the old Slim, which is a common statement amongst modern day Eminem detractors. We're then treated to track 3, which is less of a song in my opinion and more of a skit. It begins with Slim forcing M to drink some alcohol, which again feeds into this idea that Slim is nothing more than M's addict side. Eminem asks Slim Shady what he's trying to do, to which Shady responds, he's trying to get them canceled. Slim then spits this verse where he says fuck blind people, deaf people, crippled people, and quadriplegics. And totally off topic, but did you guys know it's actually quadriplegic and not quadriplegic? I learned that making this video and I wanted to tell you guys. Quadriplegic. So we then hear M asking Shady what the hell he's doing, to which Shady mocks M for trying to stop him. Eminem tells Shady to let him go, to which Shady says, what you gonna do? Cancel me? Gen Z me? Which is the actual context for this line, which a bunch of people have missed. Yeah, a lot of people took this bar at face value and just thought it was Eminem saying like, what y'all gonna do, huh? Cancel me? The track ends with Shady asking M if he thought he was dreaming, and then asks when M will realize that they need one another. It then abruptly cuts to the track Brand New Dance, which quite simply is Eminem introducing a brand new dance, which you quite literally have to paralyze yourself to do. The song is themed around Christopher Reeves, the famed actor of Superman who was paralyzed after a horse riding incident which left him wheelchair bound. Eminem milks every single Christopher Reeves joke he can on this track, to the point of even having horse clopping and neighs in the beat. The song doesn't have any deeper meaning and instead is just Eminem returning to that Slim Shady sound we all know from Encore. And that is a perfect segue into the backstory of this track. So prior to the Encore album, the original track listing featured a song called Christopher Reeves, and many people believe this is that scrapped song. Now this hasn't been 100% confirmed, but the Encore-esque beat mixed with a later mention of the scrapped Christopher Reeves Encore song makes this a pretty good argument. And if that is the case, this is yet another indication of Slim Shady's presence.
Hey guys, it's Future Kobe here. I'm editing the video right now, and I just wanted to tell you guys that if you listen close enough on Brand New Dance, you can actually hear a couple of different moments where Eminem has dubbed over certain lines. And if I had to guess, Eminem updated these lines to kind of be more relevant to today's pop culture. So yeah, this song was that Encore song. I just wanted you guys to know that. So let's go back to the video. Pass Kobe, what do you have?
Brand New Dance is easily one of my favorite tracks on this entire album, and a lot of people have agreed with this, which could be life imitating art on the final line of the previous track, where Shady tells M that M needs him, and then Shady proceeds to drop one of the most well-received songs on this album. Now, the storyline kind of gets put on pause for a second as we get the track Evil, which in my opinion is ultimately M kind of reflecting on his time as an addict as well as his relationships with people. Now, the main reason I don't believe this track is Slim Shady is this line right here. M states that if he were to take a pill, Slim would say some shit you would feel fucked up for laughing at. And since Eminem is referring to Slim as a different person instead of saying like myself or something like that, I don't think this song is a Slim Shady track. I personally believe this track is Eminem taking responsibility for being evil, regardless if it's M or Slim behind the wheel. After that, we get the skit All You Got, which is Eminem asking Shady why he's doing this. Shady responds by telling M that he owes him, because Slim gave Eminem everything. And if you're aware of Eminem's lore, this is a 100% true statement, as it wasn't until M started doing the Slim Shady persona that M was noticed by a broader audience, including Dr. Dre. After Shady says this, he tells M that he's nothing without him, and yet Eminem tried to walk away from the character. Shady says that M can't leave him no matter what he does, because Slim Shady is all he has. In my opinion, this is representing the classic battle M has always had with himself, which basically boils down to, the fans don't want Marshall, they want Shady. We then get the track Lucifer and Antichrist, and in my opinion, these tracks are being recorded by Slim, who is impersonating Eminem. I believe this because of this line right here, where Eminem impersonates a listener and says, "It's like you stepped out a portal from 2000, which is exactly what happened in the Houdini video. So I feel like this line is foreshadowing that clip in the music video and is Slim Shady ironically stating exactly what's happened, while still impersonating Eminem. Slim discusses how evil both him and Eminem are, basically saying that they are the devil. Shady throws shots at today's culture and wokeness in general. He also mentions Candace Owens, which, side note, Candace did an entire video talking about M's diss, and it's honestly so fucking funny to watch. She basically said that she's the reason Eminem is relevant again, and yeah, just take the time to watch it, it's worth it. And the other thing I wanted to say is that I believe the fact that these two song names are both references to the devil. Slim is driving home this idea that even though they're two different people, being Slim Shady and M, they are still one and the same. Now, the latter track, Antichrist, ends with this verse from Bizarre, a longtime friend of Eminem and a member of D12, who you'd probably know best from the final verse on the D12 track My Band. Side note, I was so stoked when I heard Bizarre in this track. Literally, look at my face on the live reaction. Now, Bizarre was the member of D12 who was best known for going too far in his lyrics and would say some of the most off-the-wall shit. Seriously, there are tons of different verses that I could put on screen to drive this point home. And since this album is Slim Shady's attempt at getting Eminem canceled, it's the perfect time to bring back Bizarre. But if he really wanted to get canceled, he should have went with a King Gordy verse. But the world ain't ready for that just yet. And at this point I want to remind you guys that Eminem is still tied up in being forced to watch Slim Shady say and do all this wacky shit. So we then get the track Fuel, which features rapper J.I.D. and might be the best track on this entire album. In my opinion, this track is Eminem without the Slim Shady character. However, Eminem has been overwhelmed by the presence of Shady, along with the pills and alcohol which Shady gave him. So M is a bit more confrontational on this verse, and nothing drives this point home more than what he had to say about P. Diddy. Now, M doesn't only straight up accuse Diddy of rap plus an E, which is something he's been accused of in recent years, but he also accuses Diddy of putting the hit out on Biggie and Tupac. So yeah, I think this is the best way to describe how Fuel fits the storyline, but honestly, I'm not sure if the track Fuel had really anything to do with the overall TDOSS storyline. So if you think it did, please do me a favor and leave a comment below how it does or doesn't. And also subscribe and like while you're down there. So after that, we get the track Road Rage, which is probably the most obvious attempt at Slim Shady getting Eminem canceled on this album. On this track, Slim Shady is basically taking on two groups which have become hot button topics of debate: fat people and transgender people. He starts off by going after fat people, saying they're coddled by the world today and that they need to either get skinny or own up to their fatness. And after that happens, we hear Eminem ask Slim what he's doing, to which Slim says he's dyeing their hair. Now, the blonde look on M has always been how you could tell the difference between M and Slim, meaning that with the dyeing of the hair, Slim takes complete control. Slim puts some tape over M's mouth and tells him that he knows what he's doing. Now, Slim starts off by saying he does support trans rights, but there's a lot about it which he just isn't rocking with. Now, I won't say exactly what Slim says because even though I'm quoting something, YouTube gets somewhat weird when talking about this topic. So I'll just say this. Eminem says enough that would make a certain population of people pretty upset by what he's saying. And if there was anything on this album which could legitimately get Eminem canceled, it would probably be this verse. I'm not saying I agree with that, but in today's climate, it could get him canceled. At the end of this track, we see Slim and Eminem arguing with one another. Slim mocks M by saying, "Oh what, you want me to tone it down?" And says that the old him would have told PC culture and the rest of the world as a whole to shut up. But it ends with M telling Shady, "Well, you pick on handicapped people," to which Shady responds, "Fuck you, Chris Reeves, and the horse that he rode in." So then we get Houdini, which was the official lead single from this album and is currently the most streamed track on the album. Now, as opposed to any of the other songs on this album up until this point, this song actually has a music video, which gives us a lot more information about this chapter of the storyline. So in the video for Houdini, we see Slim Shady attempting to broadcast himself as Shady to the entire world. Meanwhile, Eminem is trying to physically stop him, much like we've seen on the album so far. However, during their final showdown on top of the building, they accidentally combine with one another, creating what I call Slim and M. And after the two combine with one another, they spit the entire final verse as Slim and M, and drive off into the sunset, officially combined with one another. Throughout this song, we hear this repetition of the phrase, "and for my last trick," which I believe is Slim Shady saying that this is his final track as a solo performer, at least on this album. And I'll touch more on this theory in just a few moments. So after that, we see Slim showing Eminem a news report where the reporters are discussing the fact that Eminem is attempting to get himself canceled. But what's interesting about this skit is that basement promo, which we discussed earlier on this video, is actually playing this exact skit in the background. And after that, we're treated to Guilty Conscience 2, which tells us everything that we need to know to finish this story. So if you were like me, you were kind of expecting Guilty Conscience 2 to be somewhat like the original Guilty Conscience, where Eminem and Dre played good cop, bad cop in people's minds. But that's not what we got. And instead, we got Eminem arguing with Slim Shady. Now, for my detractors, you might be asking how could Slim and M be arguing with one another if they combined only 2 tracks prior? Well, it's simple. The argument is taking place in Eminem's mind. And that would explain the name Guilty Conscience, because Eminem has a guilty conscience surrounding what he's done with and as Slim Shady. So the song starts with Eminem telling Slim that since Slim got what he wants, he should let Eminem go, to which Shady refuses to do. Eminem then starts the verse by talking about how he went from being a nerdy kid to who he is now, and he asks how many shots he's taken, to which Shady answers him by saying it's his third shot. And then we get this bar from M where he says that trans people are attacking him and they're throwing midgets at him. Now this might be confusing, but just try to stay with me here. When he says the bar about throwing midgets at him, both Eminem and Slim Shady rap the line. Now, I think Eminem is saying the midgets joke because he's trying to say trans people are throwing insults and belittling him. However, Slim is saying the bar solely to be shocking. So instead of getting a double meaning in the wordplay itself, we're getting a double meaning from the different personas saying the bar. So at this point, Slim Shady takes over the verse and talks about how he's always getting hate and discusses an old freestyle where he talked about beating up a special ed kid. M responds with an "I told you so," to which Slim mocks M for, quote, gaining a conscience. Slim says a bunch more shock value stuff, to which Eminem fights back by asking Slim about the fact that even though Slim was supposedly anti-bully, Slim was as big of a bully as anyone else. And Slim responds to this idea by saying Slim couldn't have done it without M, so they're in cahoots with one another, which is kind of Slim saying that's Eminem's fault. M and Slim continue this back and forth for a few lines, with Slim making more jokes about little people, deaf people, and even taking some time to diss Ja Rule. The entire time, Eminem is trying to act as the better person, and he's basically just as disgusted by what M is saying as a potential critic would be. And Slim also calls out Eminem about that Christopher Reeve song we talked about earlier, which was meant for encore. He straight up asks M why the song was cut, and M says the track was cut from the album due to the unaliving of Christopher Reeves right before the album came out. To which Slim Shady jokes that he unalived on purpose to ruin the song. Eminem tells off Slim and says that he should have known that Slim was too good to be true when he found him. To which Slim responds by saying that Slim is the reason Eminem became as big as he's become. So then Slim begins telling off Eminem, but an interesting thing happens where Eminem joins Slim in saying everything that Slim is saying. Now Eminem and Slim rap this verse together, which means not only is Slim speaking to Eminem directly, but it doubles as Eminem speaking to himself and agreeing with everything Slim has to say. Now Slim has always been represented by the man in the mirror, and proof of this can be found on the cover and intro of the Slim Shady EP and the songs My Darling and When I'm Gone. Not to mention, the basement where Eminem is tied up at just so happens to have a mirror nearby, which represents the presence of Slim Shady. So it turns out Eminem wasn't alone in this basement after all, and Eminem is having the argument with himself while looking at himself in the mirror. So now that we've established that, Eminem taunts Slim to untie him, as M has been tied up since the beginning of this album. And if Shady thinks he can handle M, then he should let him go and prove it. So, Shady does exactly that. Eminem then attacks Slim Shady, and they wrestle for the gun, which Slim has had since track 2. The two of them wrestle for a bit, and Slim gives M the gun, to which M points it at Slim and tells him to apologize. However, Slim refuses to do so. Since Slim refuses to apologize, Eminem decides to finally end it all and says it's not only for him, but also for all the people in his previous beefs, all of which he names, and ultimately says this is it. Eminem then turns the weapon on himself, says coup de grace, motherfucker, and he pulls the trigger. We then hear this alarm clock and Eminem shoots out of bed and he's wondering what the hell just happened. And very faintly in the background, you can hear the song When I'm Gone is playing. And Eminem has gone on record to say that When I'm Gone was originally meant to be the actual death of Slim Shady. So Eminem's sleeping brain was doing that thing where when you hear a song in the real world, it's affecting the things that are happening in your dream. And since he was hearing a song about the demise of Slim Shady, his dream was about the exact same scenario. He frantically calls Paul, as he's done on previous albums. However, this time he's going on and on and on about the dream, to which Paul tells Eminem to fuck off. The song ends with one final laugh, which I believe is Slim Shady letting us all know he is still there. And ladies and gentlemen, this is actually where I believe that the storyline on this album ends. I do understand there's another 6 tracks on the album, but I don't believe that this storyline carries over onto those tracks. I firmly believe that the rest of the album is just Eminem doing what he does without Slim Shady. Which is kind of ironic because a lot of critics, including Needle Drop, have said that the album kind of loses focus in the last leg. And I believe people see it this way because the storyline actually ends on track 13 with another 20-ish minutes left on the album. Now, as for the future of Eminem, I think this story might not be over, and it wouldn't shock me to see some sort of B-side in the future. Some people think this is the case due to this banner people have seen flying around, which is a missing poster for Shady. There's a phone number attached to it, and if you call the number, you'll get this voice recording of Steve Berman saying the following.
Steve Berman from The Office. Apparently, Slim Shady has gone missing. Do I really care? If you happen to find him, do me a favor. Tell him to stay lost. What am I doing this for? Your call won't be returned because I really don't care if you find him or not. Now leave me alone.
Now, people think this could hint at the fact that Slim Shady is missing after the album, which I guess could make sense, but I personally think this is meant as a prequel where Slim is missing, but then he's found again when he escapes the grave. But ultimately, the entire storyline was all a dream, and basically, Eminem is the same old person we knew prior to the album, and I don't think anything or anyone will ever change that. But with that, I guess we are done for today. I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to comment a Minecraft mob. I think that's what we decided. And if you're one of my returning subs, I promise my next video will not be about Eminem. I just had to get some of that sweet album release revenue. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for today. So as always, have a good day, and remember, Kobe sucks.
Fucking stupid.